Next month is March Madness, and that's the perfect excuse to bring some basketball-themed picture books into your classroom. Now, my favorite thing about these types of books and sports books in general, not only do students really connect with them because so many, not all, so many of our students play sports, but a lot of them carry that message of persevering, trying your best, working hard, never giving up. And I think especially in this day and age, those are such important lessons for students to understand. And just telling them that doesn't always sink in, but by using picture books, we can show them some of these amazing characters or amazing real life people who have persevered, who have worked hard, who have gone after their dreams by really doing their best. And we can use that as such a powerful lesson in the classroom, that social emotional learning of all of those aspects in making ourselves the best that we can be. So I have a huge collection of basketball picture books to share with you today, and I know your students will love hearing about these books either in the month of March or any time of the year. The first two books that I have are both about Michael Jordan, and they're both written by his mother. The first one is called Dream Big, Michael Jordan and the Pursuit of Olympic Gold by Dolores Jordan. Now, this book takes us back to Michael's childhood, and we see him hanging out with his friends, at school, doing his homework, but also watching the Olympic basketball team on TV. And he tells his mother, I want to be an Olympic basketball player someday. She's kind of like, sure, yeah, whatever, you can talk about it, but you need to work hard if that's something that you want to achieve. You need to try your best. You need to do your best at everything. And she really makes sure that he completes his homework before he does his basketball practice. But she takes us through his life growing up as he goes through middle school and high school and talking with coaches and working hard at practice. And it even talks about how he got cut from, I believe it's his high school basketball team, and how he didn't get discouraged. He just used that to train harder, to work harder and practice more to become a member of the team and ultimately become an Olympic champion. As a basketball player, we all know how wonderful of a player Michael Jordan was. But again, this is a great book about showing that you need to work hard, you need to put in that effort in order to achieve those dreams. Sometimes students see these athletes on TV and just think they just got there. They don't always see that background of trying hard and working hard. And this book puts it in a way for students to understand while telling a great story at the same time. So Dream Big would be a great basketball book for March Madness. Now, this next one is also by Dolores Jordan. This one is one of my favorites, and I know I've shared it on here before. This one is called Salt in His Shoes, Michael Jordan in Pursuit of a Dream. Now, while the last one focused on him becoming an Olympian and going to the Olympics, this one focuses more on just his dream of becoming a basketball player. And this zooms in on a much smaller moment in his life. He plays basketball with his brothers at pickup games, and he's always kind of picked on by one of the bigger kids, and he kind of gets discouraged and gives up, and he says, I can't play, I'm not tall enough, what can I do to become taller? And so his mom tells him to put salt in his shoes, but to also practice and become a better player. For months he practices, and his dad can tell that he really misses going to the pickup games, and he says, you don't need to be taller. He said, you have what it takes inside of you. You've been practicing, you've been trying your best, you've been putting in that effort, and something lights up in Michael, and he goes to the pickup game with his brothers, and he scores the final point to win the game for his team. And he's so happy and so excited and just elated that he's done this thing for his team, that he's doing something that he loves. And then we go on to see at the very end how he becomes one of the best basketball players in the world. And again, it brings that story of that lesson of trying your best, of working hard. It doesn't matter how tall you are, but it matters if you're putting in that effort. and persevering and not giving up even when you want to. And Salt in His Shoes is a great story for talking about making those goals. Michael Jordan's goal was to be able to play with his brothers, to be good at basketball, and the steps that he took to achieve that goal. And I think that's, again, an important lesson for students. So I have a lesson, an interactive read aloud lesson that goes along with this book, all about setting goals and how you can use this story to teach students about setting those goals. I have a lesson plan to go along with it, as well as discussion questions and vocabulary words. You can print them right on sticky notes and put them in the book. Then I also have an activity sheet and a craftivity for your students to complete to go along with this book, as well as the lesson of setting goals. And there's even some task cards to help your students start that discussion with their peers and with you about what it means to set goals and how important it is. Now, let's keep going with those basketball books for March Madness. The next book that I have is Allie's Basketball Dream. This one is by Barbara Barber, and this is about a young girl who likes to go to basketball games with her father, and one day he gives her a basketball, her very own basketball, and she's so excited. She loves basketball, she's so excited to play, and she heads down to the park and she realizes there's no other girls playing basketball and there's only boys, and she gets discouraged. But she goes out anyway and she starts to shoot and she misses. And she misses again. She doesn't give up. She continues until she becomes this great basketball player, and she's getting her shots in and she's playing and enjoying something that she loves to do. This is a great book about perseverance, not giving up, and really spending time not perfecting, but getting good at that thing that you really enjoy and spending time with that activity, and understanding that even though there are ups and downs, that by persevering you will enjoy it. This next story is a really powerful text. This one is Above the Rim: How Elgin Baylor Changed Basketball, and it's written by Jen Bryant. And this story tells the story of Elgin Baylor, who was an African-American basketball player, as well as a civil rights advocate. This tells a story of how Baylor inspired others both on and off the court. He was an amazing basketball player and really contributed to his team's success. However, when his team traveled on the road, many hotels and restaurants turned him away simply because of the color of his skin. One night, Elgin has had enough, and he stages a one-man protest, which gains the attention of the media, the NBA, as well as other press and the public. And so this story tells how he not only worked hard as a basketball player, but stood up for what was right and for what he believed in. And I think this will start some powerful conversations with your students about the civil rights movement and what he did to contribute to that. This is another great book to read to your students to celebrate March Madness. Next, we have another book about persevering, not giving up. This is The Boy Who Never Gave Up, and it's by Anthony Curcio, and it's about Stephen Curry. This book, I wouldn't say it's my favorite. It has a good message. I would say the illustrations and words are not the best. I think your students will like it. I'm not sure that I would necessarily use it as a read aloud. It's not one of those really high quality picture books, but a great one to add to your classroom collection of books, sports books or basketball books. But this is a book similar to the ones about Michael Jordan, and it's about how this now famous basketball player didn't give up when he was younger, even though he was one of the smallest kids on the court, and how he grew up to become the great basketball player that he did. Like I said, not my favorite. If you're choosing between these, I would definitely choose the ones about Michael Jordan, much higher quality illustrations, much higher quality literature, but still a fun one to add to your collection. This next one I really enjoyed. This one is called I Got Next by Daria Peoples-Riley, and this one has very limited text, and it's about a young boy whose shadow is encouraging him to do his best out on the court. It's telling him it's time to play, put your game face on, play to win, fight to the end. And throughout the story, you see his shadow cheering him on and motivating him to do his best throughout the story. And it really shows the boy's determination and how he's encouraged by his shadow to really be proud of himself at the end for putting it all out on the court and leaving his heart out there and trying his best. And the illustrations in the book are beautiful as well. And they really bring this story to life and show, it doesn't tell that it's the shadow that's talking to him, but by looking at the illustrations, your students will be able to pick up on that it's his shadow that's encouraging him to do his best out on the court. So I really enjoyed I Got Next by Daria Peoples-Riley. This next one gave me some background on a basketball team that I didn't really know. This one is called Swish, the Slam Dunking, Alley-Ooping, High-Flying Harlem Globetrotters by Suzanne Slade. And I've seen the Harlem Globetrotters play quite a few times. They are so fun to watch. But what I didn't realize was why the team was created, why they became who they are today. So this, in story form, this book gives the background on the team, how and why it was formed, and how they played for a while and how they became what they are today. So the Harlem Globetrotters are kind of a fun team. They do lots of silly, interesting tricks out on the basketball court. It's not your traditional way of playing the game, but a lot of fun to watch. And this book was really interesting to read. And especially if your students know about the Harlem Globetrotters, then this will be a really great book to share with them. And even if they don't, pull up some videos of the Harlem Globetrotters playing so that they can see kind of what they get up to out on the court. Another book that I have to celebrate March Madness is called Bravo Tavo by Brian Munier. This one doesn't focus on basketball so much. In this story, a young boy loves to play basketball with his friends, but his sneakers are all worn out. However, his family can't afford new sneakers for him because there is a drought in their Mexican village and they just don't have enough money to pay for new sneakers. So we follow as this boy, he watches his friends from the sidelines because he doesn't have sneakers to wear to play and he must practice on his own. And we see how his family overcomes the troubling times that they have and what happens, how he gets new sneakers, kind of, at the end. So this is an important story again about perseverance and those ups and downs that you may experience, and you may not have as much as others, but not to lose that passion for something that you love. So another great book for March Madness to read aloud with your students. And this last one I wouldn't say is my favorite. This one is called Basketball Bells, How Two Teams and One Scrappy Player Put Women's Hoops on the Map by Sue Macy. Now, I was a basketball player as a child. I loved playing basketball, even though I was very short. I still went out on that basketball court. This one is about female basketball players, how kind of basketball started for female players when it was a male-dominated sport. It wasn't my favorite book. I would say that it was kind of long, not as interesting as it could be. I'm giving you my honest opinion here. But it has some great information about this first female basketball team and almost basketball league and the teams that played against each other and how females came to become a part of the sport as well. So that is my collection of books about basketball. There are a lot more out there. Those were just some of my favorites that I grabbed that you can use in your classroom during the month of March or really any time of the year, because so many of them have that lesson, those social emotional skills of persevering, not giving up, trying your best, which I think are really important to share in the classroom, and your students will truly connect with them, especially those of your students who love sports, even if it's not basketball. They'll be able to connect with these players and understand that lesson in a whole different way and see how these popular athletes didn't give up on their dream, how they kept trying hard, and how that so much hard work went into where they are today or where they became, because sometimes we don't always see that behind the scenes. We just see the amazing superstar that they are and not all the hard work that it took to get them there. So I think these picture books will be great to read in your classroom, like I said, in the month of March or any time of the year. I will leave all of the books linked in the description box down below, as well as the lesson for Salt in His Shoes that you can grab. I'll leave all of those links down in the description box down below. And if you have any favorite basketball books, I'd love to hear which ones are your favorite to share with your students. Leave a comment down below telling me which ones you share in your classroom. If this video was helpful for you, make sure you give it a thumbs up, hit that red subscribe button, because I'll be back next week with more read aloud tips and book ideas that you can use in your classroom right away. Have a great week.